Two people can say the same thing and we missed the message because we didn't like something one of the messages said. That's not on the messenger, that's on us. And the thing is, we don't have to agree with everything someone says. We can end up missing something of value because we discount everything else they said. What are you talking about?
What up, world? Live on that with Mr. Be Great today, Lamar King Sr. Glad y'all tapped in with me. It's another all positive podcast. And Mr. Be Great today has some words of encouragement. And y'all already know. I'm just going to jump right on in. Now, the topic of discussion today is don't miss the message. Focused on the messenger. Now, the truth is hard to take from certain people. Good information is good information. But sometimes we get caught up in our emotions, get caught up on our thoughts of people, of what they may have done, or what their past may consist of, that we necessarily doubt what they have to say holds any weight. Or it may be something that we don't necessarily agree with. We have a viewpoint that we just don't see eye to eye with, and we shoot down any validity in that message from particular people. And many of us suffer from this. Many of us have a habit of just not listening to information that comes from a certain group of people or even a certain person. I'll tell you, so many of us has missed out on money, missed out on blessings, missed out on opportunities because information has came from a person or group of people that we just would not agree with regardless of the situation. And I'm here to tell you that there are so many things that you are eventually going to regret in life, or you're going to look back and say, damn, I might should have took heed to that. Dang, I should have listened to that. Because my challenge to my listeners is you need to learn to evaluate the information instead of evaluating the person and the things they've done or things they've been through. So many people get caught up in a person's past, especially, and more times than not, it comes from people that you've known the longest. It comes from longtime friends, family members, people that's been around you or know of you that necessarily don't value your words, don't value the information that you bring to the table, or something that you're trying to make them aware of, and they shoot it down without even thinking about it. And that's something that you really got to work on. That's something that you really got to learn to say, wait a minute, let me take a seat back. Let me evaluate what was said and let me make my own interpretation out of it, with leaving the person out of it. Because there's so many people that's been through shit in life, that's been through ups and downs, had a terrible past, that had battled with drug addiction, had to battle with a life of being locked up and going to jail, had an unpleasant life as a young adult, and now they've transpired and transitioned into a new life, and people can't see the forest for the trees because they're so focused on what they used to do. Or a person may be a part of a certain organization or religious group or political organization, and regardless of what they say, because they stand on the opposition of that, they will not hear it, none whatsoever. And it probably can be some valuable information that could potentially save your life, that could potentially prevent you from going through things that you necessarily wouldn't have to go through if you just had taken time to look at the information, indulge in it, take what you need out of it, and use it in your life. But so many people get caught up in judging a person, judging where the information is coming from, and then they just rule it out. They don't even want to hear it. Oh no, I don't want to hear nothing they got to say because they can't tell me nothing. And that's hindering your growth. That's stopping you from getting to where you probably want to be. That's stopping you from going through obstacles and problems and things that you probably could have prevented if you just had took time just to listen to the info. But so many of us don't care. We don't want to hear it. That, I know that. I know them. I know, how can they tell me? And and this, that, and the third. And it happens so often. It happens so regular in this world. And people just don't understand that information is information, regardless of where it comes from, right? And I know we've all heard the phrase, and a lot of our parents probably have told us, don't do what I do what I say, right? Some parents have that hierarchy mentality when it comes down to their kids, and they say, well, I know better because I've been here the longest. But oftentimes, I'm gonna tell you now, especially nowadays, where we have a very smart children nowadays, contrary to popular belief that this young generation is, taking us to the abyss of hell, and where are we going to get this and this and that and third, because the people don't align and don't agree with a lot of things that the youth are doing, and myself included. But there's some things that these young people, your children included, that they can tell you and give you and you can use, but oftentimes you'll shoot it down because I'm the parent. Oftentimes you don't want to hear it because I brought you into this world. I know what's best for you. But it's a new age. We're in the 21st century. There's so many resources out here that we don't tap into because we stick to our guns and we stick to how we always done things, and we just don't want to hear anything else. Because and I really want you guys to get this. Now, I'm not saying everything your child tells you is something you should bet your life on, but there's some things when it comes down to technology, when it comes down to working smart, when it comes down to information, that you might want to listen to, instead of shooting it down and thinking that these young kids don't know nothing. These young kids are very smart in their own right, and so many times they don't get enough credit because we're so focused on the old days. We used to do this, we used to be outside, we used to do this, and I agree. I think kids need to get out more, but sometimes in some situations, in some scenarios, these children can teach you something. Your children can teach you something. If you come off that ego, if you let go of that pride and say, let me listen to my child. Especially when you're talking about detrimental things, especially when you're talking about how you may talk to them and how you may treat them, and they see how you treat your friends, and they see how you turn up with your friends and your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, and how you treat them so good, and then you may shoot them down in every capacity, in every way of life. I've seen it so many times over, and I'm sure you have as well. So many people get caught up in hero worshiping, personality worshiping, status worshiping, because you may see this person who post their highlight reel because they are quote unquote successful. They got everything going for themselves. They got the look, they got the clothes, they got the car, they got the house. They know better. But sometimes those people are waddling in debt. Sometimes those people are so insecure. That's why they need validation from the internet. Sometimes those people just have so much going on within their mind, but they put on this big front and they make you seem like they have it all figured out. And you'll believe in them and you'll confide in them and you'll take every word that they say as truth. And then the next person, a homeless person, a person who's had a strained past, a person that's been through so many scenarios or so many ups and downs in life, can say the exact same thing and you will hear none of it. You won't even give it a time of day because you're focused on the messenger and not the message. And so many of us has missed out on countless opportunities of life. So many of us has missed out on countless lessons and things we can learn from and instill into our lives because we're so focused on where the information came from. So many people are so focused on accolades. Oh, do you got a degree? Where did you get your degree? What school did you go to? How did you know this? For example, the jab. There were so many people, and I'm not going to jump on the jab hard on this, but there were so many people, professionals, non-professionals, everyday walk in the mill Joe Blows was against the jab, telling you I don't trust it. Then there were some people that walk in the mill, Joe Blows, professionals, that was for it. But either way it go, there was some information, there was a lack of communication on both sides, that everybody was so, adamant about getting their point across that they didn't want to hear either side. They didn't want to hear it, right? And now they come around, they turn around, well, look, these jabs are causing blood clots. They're causing heart trouble. They this, that, and third. They've categorized COVID as a non-emergency or illness. But just, not just a little over a year ago, you got to stay in the house. You can't go to work. You got to wear a mask everywhere you go. But all of a sudden now it's just changed. And that's just an example that sometimes you got to take heed. People like Rizza Islam, there was many people that got banned on the social media network because they was talking about this jab. Why? People didn't side with their viewpoints. They looked at the person. Oh, he's not a doctor. Who are you? You can't tell me. And then now you got some of those same professionals like Dr. Fauci, and they turned a new page. Now they're singing a different tune. But because you were so ignorant and because you were so blatantly about standing on your side, and because a lot of time it became political. So many people say, well, and whether you want to agree with me or not, a lot of the liberals said, you know what? No, we're going to take the jab. A lot of the conservatives said, no, I'm against it. And people just had this back and forth. And so many people from either side will focus on the messenger and missing the message. Again, your accolades, the things you've obtained, your degrees, doesn't make you more qualified to speak on something. Just because you got these, you got these letters in front of your name and behind your name, doesn't mean you can't take something from the average person. And hell, then sometimes people will look at it, well, where did you go to school? I went to the University of Phoenix. Oh man, that's nothing. I went to DeVry. Oh no, you went to school online. Oh no, but a lot of times people shoot that down because they feel like the information didn't come from a credible place. What school I went to Yale. I went to Harvard. I went to Morehouse. I went to Spelman. I went to Clark. And a lot of times people shoot it down. They'll look at it like, oh, just because you didn't go to a prestige college or a prestige university, that your information somehow doesn't hold as much weight as mine. Evaluate the information, not the person and the place that it came from, right? And it's so hard and it's so difficult for us to see things for what they are because we're so biased in our thinking just out the gate. We're so biased on our standpoints in life based on where we live, based on where we come from, based on our upbringing. And we oftentimes miss the message based on the messenger and based on where it came from. And it's a sad day when you can't decipher between, you can't use critical thinking and think for yourself and stop sticking to your guns as far as what political views you may have or what religious views you may have, and take some good solid information from someone on the other side, right? And another thing, oftentimes, myself included, we can give some of the greatest advice in the world. We can tell people some of the greatest things they need to do in life, but we can't accept it as our own. So I challenge you also, sometimes you got to listen to yourself. That same advice that you're giving to people, that same advice that you're giving out, I have to tell myself daily, Lamar, you got to start being better at using the information that you give to your listeners. Oftentimes you can tell a person about their relationship. You can tell a person about their friendship. But yet and still, you can't take the information and use it in your life effectively either. So also, you got to be, don't miss the message from yourself. We can, when we have a bird's eye view and looking at someone else's life, we can point out all the flaws. But can you do that when you look in that mirror? Can you take that message from yourself, right? And also, you got to learn, like people say oftentimes, I don't care what people think. I seen a quote the other day, your haters sometimes will give you some of the best corrected criticism. But because you're in your feelings, you don't want to accept it as fact. You don't want to accept it as something that you can use to better yourself. It's kind of like a business. You have a business that, I got a 5-star Google review rating on Google. I got a 4.8 Google review rating on Google. But I tell you, my business owners, go to those negative reviews. Listen to what the negative aspect of your business has done to people, and start focusing on them. Even in yourself, all the things you get wrong in life. If you focus on them and focus on working on them, things will get a lot better for you. Because so many people love those attaboys. They love that positive praise. But the moment you call them out call a spade, now they feel like you're hating on them. And it very well may be hate. It very well may be somebody who really don't like you. But if you take what they say and you take the things that they're trying to point out about you, sometimes you can use that to critique yourself. Hey, they may be right. I may be full of myself. They may be right. I might need to go do this. I'm not saying hang your hat on it. I'm not saying just consume yourself with all the negative stuff people say about you. But you can use the things that are said against you sometimes to critique your own self and use it to better yourself. Because if you got all positive reviews and you got 4 or 5 negative reviews, obviously all the positive reviews, you're doing something right. Now let's fix the things you're doing wrong. Sometimes you miss the message from when you have those negative reviews. You have those negative things said about you, and you don't want to fix them. You want to dismiss them as if that's just hate. That's somebody who, they just feel like that about me. But sometimes those are things that are actually something you can work on. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to look at something that's negatively said about you and try to critique yourself and try to get better in those areas, because we get the good stuff right. The good stuff, I feel like you have it down pat. But what about the things you're doing wrong? The things that people have a problem with? And again, I'm not saying hang your hat and say, well, let me fix everything somebody got to say. But sometimes you got to care about what people got to say about you, right? And a lot of you guys know that I have a vast sales background. And coming up in sales, what I found out in sales, sometimes the rudest customers, the ones that give you the hardest time, are the most difficult ones to deal with. But if you can win them over, if you can solve their problems, if you can ease their tension or their thoughts or their skepticism about you and what you may have to offer, and get them to buy from you, those customers will be your customer for life. Those customers will buy and be confident from you. You get a person that you may be talking to, like, oh, I don't want them, not interested, this, that, and the third. And if you stay in the conversation and you talk to them and you listen to them, they'll tell you exactly how to close them. That's the same thing with life. Oftentimes we want these friends and we want people around us that don't have any opposition to what we're saying. We want those yes men. We want those people that want to turn up with us. We want those people that are always, got nothing but good things to say about us. And the friends that are going to tell you about yourself and tell you when your slip's showing, you feel like, oh, they can't be trusted. But I'm here to tell you, I've seen so many times before, those friends that are critical about you and the things you're going wrong with, when things definitely go left in your life, those are the ones that are generally going to show up. And they're not going to be there to say, I told you so. They're going to be like, I tried to warn you, babe. I tried to tell you, man. I tried to, forewarn you on what's going on. Now let's see if we can't get through this together. But that person that was attaboy trying to tell you, yeah, that's it. You need to do that. You need to do this. You won't even see him, right? So don't miss the message. Focus on the messenger. Don't miss the message just because your friend is always agreeing with you, just because they're always there when the good times come. But what about the hard times? What about the challenging times in life? What about the person that's telling you about yourself when you're going through some things and they can see some things that for what they are, and you don't want to hear it, you want to dismiss it because they're not agreeing with you, right? And you're missing the message because it's coming from somebody you may feel like they don't like you. You may feel like they hating on you. You ain't got to necessarily like somebody for you to get some good, solid information from them. You ain't got to necessarily agree with a person just to learn something from a person. And so many of us get caught up in that yes man and that attaboys and all that stuff that we miss the message. We think those people are truly our friends. But and oftentimes you'll find out when the tough times come, they're nowhere to be found. When you ain't got that bag to spend or splurge or go and do all these extravagant trips, they ain't got nothing to say, right? But when you're down and out, when you're going through tough times, you're going through hard times, oftentimes it's those friends that you least spend time with, the ones who are most critical about the things that you're doing, they're the ones that'll show up and show out. Those are the ones that are truly be supportive of you. That's why so many times I'm pretty sure all of you all have a friend that you trust now, a friend that you call your BFF. But in the beginning, for some reason or another, you guys just didn't click. For some reason, something, the powers that be was keeping you at odds with each other. Because I'm here to tell you, the enemy sometimes don't like to see two people with a level of influence to join forces. So in the beginning, they'll have you thinking a certain way about a person. They'll think, oh, they think they all that. I wouldn't deal with them. I wouldn't trust them. And then they want you to take that yes man in. They want you to take that yes woman in that's going to agree with you and say you got it going on and say you're doing the right thing and telling you to lead that man and telling you to lead that woman. Right? Instead of that friend that say, hey, you need to stick it out. And because you don't want you taking it from, you're getting in your emotions, you're getting in your feelings, and you're not critically thinking, you're not, emotionally mature about the situation, you shoot it down. You don't want to listen to it. There's so many people that, people that have, indulged in drug addicts, alcoholics, people who have lived the life of a crime and who changed their life can give you more game than a person who has a college degree sometimes. And oftentimes you'll look at their past and look at the things they've been through and you'll shoot it down. But how can you tell me? There's so many times people tell you, man, you need to quit drinking, even though they drink. Or you don't want to take that information. Or how can you tell me you drink? Because they know from experience. See, oftentimes people want to look at, expertise versus experience. I'll take experience any day. I'll take experience over expertise any day. I'll take the person with the least accolades over a person with a whole wall full of degrees any day, because that person with experience has firsthand experience about what life is. It's not about what somebody told them. It's not about memorizing a test so you can be better at a standardized test and you're quote unquote more knowledgeable about a matter. But you got a person who's dealt with infidelities, a person who's dealt with raising kids on their own. You have a person who's dealt with abusive relationships, versus a person who went to school and got a degree about it and just talked about it and just memorized some information. Doesn't necessarily mean they know what the hell they talking about. There's so many relationship gurus on this internet and some of them give some good sound information that never went to college. And then you got people say, oh, she's a doctor, or he got a degree in psychology. He got this, he got that. That doesn't necessarily mean that the information is good. But I'll take that person who's had to deal with life and had to go through things and overcome certain things versus someone who just learned something about it, right? So I'm telling you, man, don't miss the message. Don't miss the things that you may need and use in your life just because you're focused on who said it. Don't miss some good, solid feedback from a person who cares about you truly And the delivery may be a little different. The delivery may seem a little harsh, but you don't want to, you dismiss it because they're not appeasing you. They're not praising you. They're not always agreeing with you. And it's hard because that's how we've been taught. That's how we've been raised. Stick to your own kind, stick to your own lane, stick to your side. But there's so many people, especially in this world, in this country that we live in, we're already divided, that we would shoot down anybody in opposition, anybody so-called on the other side, because that's how it's innately ingrained into our psyche. It's ingrained into our soul. It's ingrained into our thought process that we can't take any information from the other side. We can't. What they saying don't mean me no good. But I'm here to tell you that it's good in every situation. You got to evaluate the information. Good information is good information. Stop challenging yourself. Stop pushing yourself to a side and just, not even hearing them out, and not even, actively listening to what someone has to say, and then take that information and use it in your life. Because you're going to miss out on so many opportunities. You're going to miss out on so many chances at life because you looked at that person in a negative light because of what they used to do or what they are currently doing, or because they on this side, or because they on that side, because they vote for this president and you voted for that president, or because they go to this church and you go to that church, or because they from the suburbs and you from the inner city. It's so many different scenarios that we miss the message, focus on the message and messenger, and focus on where a person come from and focus on what a person used to do, that we miss out on golden opportunities of life. We miss out on golden opportunities that's going to give us a leg up in life. There's so many people that probably, hear about Mr. Be Great Today has a podcast, that known me all my life, that been knowing me since the sandbox, been knowing me from day one, knowing that I was once in a gang, knowing that I was once a drug abuser, a drug seller, a drug dealer. They known that I was once a womanizer. And then they say, oh Lord, how can he do this? How can he get on here and tell people how to think? How can he tell? Because I've experienced it. And I know if it works for me, it can work for you. And I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm trying to just help someone. If I can help one person, my job is complete. And I'm going to continue to give people, my side and my experience and the things I've been through to try to prevent them from going through the same challenges I had to. Some of my best experiences are on my sons. I try to tell them and they see it. It's like my life is replaying in theirs. And when it rears its head, it's like deja vu. They're like, damn, Dad tried to tell me. Because experience is always going to beat out any type of accolade that you have. Experience is always going to be the best teacher in life. And if you can't decipher between the people you don't like and take the information that they're giving and use it in your life, you're going to have some challenges that you're going to later regret. You're going to have some challenges that you're going to look back on and be like, damn, such and such told me. I know our parents have told us that boy ain't your friend now. That girl don't mean you no good now. And we disregard it as, oh, Ma just hating. Oh, Daddy don't know what he's talking about. He just so strict. And then later on in life, when the true color starts showing, now you see it. Now you have that aha, that light bulb moment, to the point where if you had to just listen and stop focusing on the messenger, just because it's coming from your parents, or just because it's coming from your friends, or just because it's coming from a total perfect stranger that you know nothing about, then you wouldn't have to go through those heartaches and pains of life. At least not that late in the game. I'd rather get hurt early. I'd rather go through trials early. I'd rather get my no now. I'd rather get my disparities now versus 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And so many of us, so stubborn that we don't want to hear anything from people that don't look like us. We don't want to hear anything from a person that may be from the Democratic Party because I vote Republican. Then we don't want to hear anybody from the Republican Party because I vote Democratic. We're all human beings. We all have a story to tell. We all have life experiences that we have lived. And again, you got to have discernment. You got to be able to decipher too what the information that you need and you don't need. You got to be open-minded. You got to be able to take it all in. You got to be able to take it all in, because I tell you, it doesn't matter what walk of life these people come from. It doesn't matter what walk of life this person or the things these people may have done in the past. They can all give you some good, solid information. All right. And that's all I got for y'all today, man. I really want you guys to understand that the message is more important than the messenger. The words that people give you sometimes, it may not come from a likely source. It may not come from someone you particularly like, but it's some good solid information that you can use in your life either today or later on in the future. But don't shoot it down or dismiss it as something that's not true or something that you can't use, and then later on in life you find out that person was 100% correct, and you found out that, damn, if I only had to listen a little bit earlier, I wouldn't have had to deal with that. And it's a challenge, and that's why you got to take time to use discernment. You got to take time to open up and receive the information. Be an active listener, and then use it and apply it in your life. And so you don't have to repeat those same actions or those same shortcomings or those same pitfalls. And then that way you can have a better life. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be smooth sailing. It's not going to be all hunky dory. You're going to have those ups and downs. You're going to have those things that you have to deal with. But if you actively listen and you take in the information and use discernment with an open heart and an open mind, and stop looking at where it came from and focus on the information that's given, you'll have a much better and much peaceful life. All right, so y'all make sure y'all go check me out, Mr. Be Great Today, on TikTok, YouTube, and Fanbase. Great Today INC on IG, and On Air with Mr. Be Great Today on Facebook. I love you all, and you already know. Be great today.